My beloved children, before we begin our spiritual journey today, I ask that you subscribe to this channel and share these words of encouragement with those facing challenges in their lives. Together, we can strengthen hearts and inspire courage in the midst of adversity. If you are determined to face your obstacles with courage, write now in the comments, "I face with courage." My precious son, my dear daughter, listen carefully to the words I have for you today. In a world full of challenges and difficulties, I want you to know, you can face obstacles with courage because I am with you. Imagine yourself standing before a seemingly insurmountable mountain. This mountain represents the obstacles in your life: health problems, financial difficulties, complicated relationships, paralyzing fears. It may seem impossible to overcome, but remember the words I said to Joshua in Joshua, chapter 1, verse 9. Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. Just as I was with Joshua when he faced the challenge of leading the people to the promised land, I am with you in every obstacle you face. My presence is your source of courage. No matter how intimidating the challenge may seem, you are not alone. Think of David facing Goliath, a young shepherd against an experienced giant. The odds seemed to be against him, but David faced the challenge with courage. In 1 Samuel chapter 17, verse 45, David declares, "You come against me with sword and spear and javelin, but I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied." My son, my daughter, just as David faced his Goliath with courage, you can face your giants with the same confidence. Your obstacles may seem gigantic, but remember, you have the God of the universe on your side. Your courage doesn't come from your own strength, but from confidence in who I am. In Isaiah chapter 41, verse 10, I promise, "So do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand." When you face obstacles, I am there to strengthen you, help you, and sustain you. Think about this. The Creator of the universe personally promises to strengthen and help you. No obstacle is too big when you have this kind of support. Your courage comes from knowing that, no matter what happens, I am holding you with my righteous hand. Remember how Esther faced the challenge of saving her people, risking her own life. In Esther chapter 4, verse 16, she declares, "Go, gather together all the Jews who are in Susa, and fast for me. Do not eat or drink for 3 days, night or day. I and my attendants will fast as you do. When this is done, I will go to the king, even though it is against the law. And if I perish, I perish." My beloved, just as Esther faced her challenge with courage, you can face your obstacles. Courage is not the absence of fear, but the determination to act despite fear. Esther was afraid, but she chose to act with courage because she trusted in me. In Deuteronomy chapter 31, verse 6, I encourage, "Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or terrified because of them, for the Lord your God goes with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you." When you face obstacles, remember this promise: I go with you. I will never leave you nor forsake you. This promise is not just for easy times, but especially for when you face your greatest challenges. When the path seems most difficult, when the obstacles seem insurmountable, that's when my presence becomes most palpable. Your courage comes from knowing that you never face anything alone. Think of Paul and Silas in prison. They faced a great obstacle. They were unjustly imprisoned, their lives in danger. But instead of despairing, they responded with courage and praise. In Acts chapter 16, verse 25, we read, "About midnight Paul and Silas were praying and singing hymns to God, and the other prisoners were listening to them." My son, my daughter, just as Paul and Silas faced their imprisonment with courage and praise, you can face your obstacles with the same attitude. Courage often manifests not in great heroic acts, but in the daily decision to trust in me and praise me, even when circumstances are difficult. In Psalms chapter 27, verse 14, David exhorts, "Wait for the Lord. Be strong and take heart, and wait for the Lord." Facing obstacles with courage sometimes means waiting patiently, trusting that I am working even when you cannot see. Waiting can be one of the greatest tests of courage. When you face an obstacle and don't see an immediate solution, it takes courage to keep trusting, to keep hope alive. But remember, I am working behind the scenes, preparing the way for your victory. Remember how Joshua and Caleb demonstrated courage when all the other spies were afraid to enter the promised land. In Numbers chapter 14, verse 9, they declared, "Only do not rebel against the Lord, and do not be afraid of the people of the land, because we will devour them. Their protection is gone, but the Lord is with us. Do not be afraid of them." My beloved, just as Joshua and Caleb faced fear with courage, basing themselves on their trust in me, you can face your obstacles. When everyone around you is discouraged, you can be the one who stands up with faith and courage, reminding others that I am in control. In Philippians chapter 4, verse 13, Paul declares, "I can do all this through him who gives me strength." This is the source of your courage, not your own strength, but my strength working in you. There is no obstacle you cannot overcome when you trust in me. Think about this. The same power that created the universe, that raised Jesus from the dead, is available to you. When you face an obstacle, you're not just relying on your own limited resources, but on my unlimited power. Think of Daniel in the lion's den. He faced a deadly obstacle, but remained faithful and courageous. In Daniel chapter 6, verse 23, we read, "The king was overjoyed and gave orders to lift Daniel out of the den. And when Daniel was lifted from the den, no wound was found on him, because he had trusted in his God." My son, my daughter, just as Daniel faced the lions with courage, trusting in me, you can face your lions, be they fears, doubts, or threatening circumstances. Your faith in me is your protection. When you face obstacles with courage based on faith, I work miracles on your behalf. In 2 Timothy chapter 1, verse 7, it is written, "For the Spirit God gave us does not make us timid, but gives us power, love, and self-discipline." The courage you need to face obstacles doesn't come from yourself, but is a gift I have given you. It's part of your inheritance as my son, my daughter. This spirit of power, love, and self-discipline is your weapon against fear and discouragement. When you feel weak, remember that I have given you power. When you feel discouraged, remember that I have given you love. When you feel tempted to give up, remember that I have given you self-discipline. Remember how Nehemiah faced the challenge of rebuilding the walls of Jerusalem. He encountered opposition and discouragement, but remained courageous. In Nehemiah chapter 6, verse 9, he prays, "They were all trying to frighten us, thinking, 'Their hands will get too weak for the work, and it will not be completed.' But I prayed, 'Now strengthen my hands.'" My beloved, just as Nehemiah faced opposition with courage, seeking strength in me, you can face your obstacles. When you feel discouraged, when the challenge seems too great, do as Nehemiah did. Pray for strength, and I will strengthen your hands for the task. In Joshua chapter 1, verse 7, I instruct, "Be strong and very courageous. Be careful to obey all the law my servant Moses gave you. Do not turn from it to the right or to the left, that you may be successful wherever you go." Courage often manifests in constant obedience, even when it's difficult. When you face obstacles, remain faithful to my ways. Do not turn to the right or to the left, but stand firm in the truth you know. This is a powerful way to demonstrate courage. Think of Ruth, who faced the obstacle of leaving her homeland to follow her mother-in-law and me, the God of Israel. In Ruth, chapter 1, verse 16, she courageously declares, "Don't urge me to leave you or to turn back from you. Where you go, I will go, and where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people, and your God, my God." My son, my daughter, just as Ruth faced the unknown with courage, you can face your obstacles. Courage often involves taking a step of faith into the unknown, trusting that I am guiding your steps. In Psalms chapter 31, verse 24, David encourages, "Be strong and take heart, all you who hope in the Lord." When you face obstacles, let your hope in me be the source of your strength and courage. Hope is not a vague optimism, but a firm confidence in who I am and what I have promised. When you anchor your hope in me, you find the courage to face any obstacle, knowing that the final outcome is in my hands. Remember how Moses faced the obstacle of leading my people out of Egypt. He felt inadequate and afraid, but I encouraged him. In Exodus chapter 4, verse 12, I say to him, "Now go. I will help you speak and will teach you what to say." My beloved, just as I encouraged Moses, I am encouraging you. When you feel inadequate for the challenge ahead, remember that I am with you. I will give you the words to speak, the wisdom to act, the strength to persevere. In Isaiah chapter 40, verses 30 and 31, it is written, "Even youths grow tired and weary, and young men stumble and fall, but those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint." When you face obstacles, it's natural to feel tired and discouraged. But when you wait on me, I renew your strength. Your courage is renewed, and you are able to rise above circumstances like an eagle that rises above the storm. Think of Gideon, who faced the challenge of leading a small army against a much larger enemy. In Judges chapter 6, verse 12, my angel greets him saying, "The Lord is with you, mighty warrior." My son, my daughter, just as I called Gideon a mighty warrior, even when he felt weak and inadequate, I see the courage in you even when you don't see it in yourself. Your courage doesn't depend on how you feel, but on who I say you are. In Hebrews chapter 13, verse 6, we are reminded, "So we say with confidence, 'The Lord is my helper. I will not be afraid. What can mere mortals do to me?'" This is the basis of your courage, knowing that I am your helper. When you face obstacles, you don't need to fear what men can do. Your confidence in me overcomes any fear you may face. Remember how Elijah faced the prophets of Baal on Mount Carmel. He was alone against 450 false prophets, but remained courageous because he trusted in me. In 1 Kings chapter 18, verse 36, Elijah prays, "Lord, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, let it be known today that you are God in Israel, and that I am your servant, and have done all these things at your command." My beloved, just as Elijah faced overwhelming opposition with courage, you can face your obstacles. Your courage comes from knowing that I am the true God and that you are my servant. No matter how impossible the situation may seem, I can make the impossible happen when you trust in me. In Proverbs chapter 3, verses 5 and 6, it is written, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your paths straight." Facing obstacles with courage often means trusting in me even when you don't understand what's happening. Your own understanding may be limited, but when you trust in me completely, I straighten your paths and guide you through challenges. Think of Joseph, who faced obstacle after obstacle, sold into slavery by his own brothers, falsely accused and imprisoned. But he maintained his courage and integrity through it all. In Genesis chapter 50, verse 20, he says to his brothers, "You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good." My son, my daughter, just as Joseph maintained his courage through years of adversity, you can face your obstacles with the same perseverance. Your courage comes from knowing that, no matter what others intend against you, I can turn even the worst situations into something good. In Romans chapter 8, verse 31, Paul asks, "What then shall we say in response to these things? If God is for us, who can be against us?" This is a powerful source of courage. When you face obstacles, remember that I am on your side. If the Creator of the universe is for you, what obstacle can really stop you? Remember how David faced many obstacles on his journey to become king. He was persecuted, had to hide, faced betrayal, but he maintained his courage through it all. In Psalms chapter 27, verse 1, he declares, "The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the stronghold of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid?" My beloved, just as David found courage in seeing me as his light, salvation, and stronghold, you can find courage to face your obstacles. When you focus on who I am, your fears diminish and your courage increases. In Ephesians chapter 6, verse 10, Paul exhorts, "Finally be strong in the Lord and in his mighty power." Your courage doesn't come from your own strength, but from my strength working in you. When you feel weak in the face of obstacles, remember to strengthen yourself in me. Think of Esther, who faced the challenge of saving her people by risking her own life. She found courage in the unity and prayer of her people. In Esther chapter 4, verse 16, she asks, "Go, gather together all the Jews who are in Susa and fast for me. Do not eat or drink for 3 days, night or day. I and my attendants will fast as you do. My son, my daughter, just as Esther found strength in community and prayer, you can find courage to face your obstacles by uniting with other believers and seeking my face in prayer. Don't face your challenges alone. Allow others to support you and intercede for you. In James chapter 1, verses 2-4, we are encouraged. Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work, so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. Facing obstacles with courage doesn't mean it will be easy or pleasant, but you can find joy knowing that every obstacle you face with faith is producing perseverance in you, shaping your character and deepening your faith. Remember how Paul faced countless obstacles in his missionary journeys: persecution, imprisonment, shipwreck. But he maintained his courage through it all. In 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verses 8-9, he writes, "We are hard-pressed on every side, but not crushed, perplexed, but not in despair, persecuted, but not abandoned, struck down, but not destroyed." My beloved, just as Paul maintained his courage in the midst of extreme tribulations, you can face your obstacles with the same resilience. Your courage doesn't mean you'll never feel pressured or perplexed, but it means you won't give up, knowing that I never abandon you. In Isaiah chapter 43, verse 2, I promise, "When you pass through the waters, I will be with you, and when you pass through the rivers, they will not sweep over you. When you walk through the fire, you will not be burned. The flames will not set you ablaze." This promise is a powerful source of courage. No matter what the obstacle is, deep waters, raging rivers, or burning fire, I am with you, protecting and sustaining you. Think of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who faced the obstacle of a fiery furnace for refusing to bow before an idol. In Daniel chapter 3, verses 17-18, they courageously declare, "If we are thrown into the blazing furnace, the God we serve is able to deliver us from it, and he will deliver us from your majesty's hand. But even if he does not, we want you to know, your majesty, that we will not serve your gods or worship the image of gold you have set up." My son, my daughter, just as these 3 young men demonstrated unwavering courage in the face of a deadly threat, you can face your obstacles with the same determination. Your courage doesn't depend on the outcome, but on trust in who I am and the decision to remain faithful. My beloved, just as Paul maintained his courage in the midst of extreme tribulations, you can face your obstacles with the same resilience. Your courage doesn't mean you'll never feel pressed or perplexed, but it means you won't give up, knowing that I never abandon you. In Isaiah chapter 43, verse 2, I promise, "When you pass through the waters, I will be with you. And when you pass through the rivers, they will not sweep over you. When you walk through the fire, you will not be burned. The flames will not set you ablaze." This promise is a powerful source of courage. No matter what the obstacle, deep waters, raging rivers, or burning fire, I am with you, protecting and sustaining you. Think of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who faced the obstacle of a fiery furnace for refusing to bow before an idol. In Daniel chapter 3, verses 17-18, they courageously declare, "If we are thrown into the blazing furnace, the God we serve is able to deliver us from it, and he will deliver us from your majesty's hand. But even if he does not, we want you to know, your majesty, that we will not serve your gods or worship the image of gold you have set up." My son, my daughter, Just as these three young men demonstrated unwavering courage in the face of a deadly threat, you can face your obstacles with the same determination. Your courage doesn't depend on the outcome, but on trust in who I am and the decision to remain faithful to me no matter what happens. In Hebrews chapter 10, verses 35 to 36, we are exhorted, "So do not throw away your confidence, it will be richly rewarded. You need to persevere so that when you have done the will of God, you will receive what He has promised." Facing obstacles with courage is a marathon, not a sprint. It requires perseverance, the ability to maintain your trust in me even when the path is long and difficult. But remember, there is a reward waiting for you on the other side of every obstacle you face with courage. Always remember, your courage comes from me. It's not based on your own strength or abilities, but on my power working in you. When you feel weak, I am strong. When you feel afraid, I am your courage. When the obstacles seem insurmountable, I am your way through. In closing, my dear child, let me remind you of the words in Isaiah chapter 41, verse 13. "For I am the Lord your God who takes hold of your right hand and says to you, 'Do not fear, I will help you.'" As you face your obstacles, picture me holding your hand, walking beside you, giving you the courage you need for each step. Now, if this message has touched your heart, share it. Be an instrument of courage for others who are facing their own obstacles. Comment below, "I face with courage," and declare your determination to face your challenges with the courage that comes from knowing I am with you. Remember, you can face obstacles with courage because I, the Lord your God, am with you always. Go forth with courage, my beloved. I am with you every step of the way.